for joining us again on our series, Do Not Be Anxious. Every week we're going to start with our theme verse in Philippians chapter 4 and verse 6, where Paul says, "Be anxious for nothing." Of course, that's not the whole verse. He goes on to tell us one of the ways that we can treat anxiety, or a way we can live and prevent anxiety. He says, "Be anxious for nothing, but in everything with prayer and supplication and thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God, and the peace that surpasses all understanding will guard your hearts and minds in Christ Jesus." We'll look more at prayer and how that helps us deal with anxiety in future lessons. But as we get started today, we're going to look at some of the origins of stress. When I was a kid, I loved Archie comics. My favorite character was Moose. He was the jock football player that had a girlfriend that could fit in the palm of his hand. And I thought, that's what I want to do. I had huge life goals. I wanted to be a big muscle head that I had a really tiny little girlfriend I could carry around. And as you can see, I've crushed it. I've completed one of life's greatest goals. Seriously, one of the things that we do from a very early age is put unrealistic expectations on ourselves, and many of us carry those throughout the rest of our life. There's no question that we should have goals, but we also need to have a realistic expectation of how we can accomplish those goals and how we deal with the way other people view us in spite of those goals. Several years ago, I was asked to speak at a conference in Minnesota, and I'm somewhat of a minimalist, and so I put my backpack on my back, I put a hanger with a suit on it in the plane in their little closet. Sat on the plane, flew out on a Friday night. I was speaking on a Saturday morning. When I got to my friend's house where I was staying, I put my hanger up in my room in my backpack. I got up the next morning and I went to take my suit jacket off the hanger, and I noticed that my pants were gone. Now, I had only packed the suit and the holey jeans I was wearing to go to a conference to speak to a pretty good sized group. And I started sweating. It was 5 o'clock in the morning. I was trying to get ready early, and I thought, well, I can't go out to the car and see if they fell off in the car. So I had to wait until about 8 when my friend woke up, and I was speaking at 9. And so I went out to his car. The pants were nowhere to be found. And immediately I started thinking about how horrible this day was going to go. I began to imagine what horrible things this crowd would think of me for showing up in a pair of blue jeans and a dress shirt and a coat for my suit. And I had no way of knowing what these people would actually think. But think about my perception for a moment. I began to think about what someone else might think about me for showing up in a certain outfit to speak. I felt about this little. And it's something that has sparked in me a desire to help other people get over what others might possibly think about the way they might be doing something. Because we should never let the way that we view ourselves go down because of what someone else might think. Things like social media certainly don't help us at all with stress. Keeping up with the Joneses is something that a lot of us try to do, and the Joneses are on social media and they look like they have it all together when in fact they really might not. Marcus Aurelius is a first century Roman emperor, and he was known for having said, "I have often wondered how it is that every man loves himself more than all the rest of men, but yet sets less value on his own opinion of himself than on the opinion of others." 2,000 years ago, and Marcus Aurelius already had it figured out. Why is it that we become so concerned about what other people think about us? One of the exercises I like to do with young people when I speak at different events is I have them close their eyes and I ask them 2 questions. The first question is, when you were getting ready this morning, did you think about what other people would think about your clothes and allow that to determine in some ways what you put on before you left the house? And I ask for a show of hands, and almost every hand goes in the air. So they put their hands down, and I ask them a second question, and that is, do you care what the people around you are wearing? And no one raises a hand. And it really speaks to how much value we give to other people's opinions who really don't care about what we think they care about. And it's a little tool we can use in so many areas of life to help us reduce the amount of stress we have because of undue pressure we think other people might put on us during our day. Many of us don't realize that managing stress and anxiety can be possible. Think about filling in the following statements. I would have less stress in my life if I had more, you fill in the blank. Or I would have less stress if, and then you fill in the blank. If you can answer either of these two questions, what we're saying is that anxiety, just general anxiety, is a choice, and that we could get rid of it if we chose certain things in our life. The two most common answers to those fill in the blanks are time and money. Many of us think if I had more time, I would have less stress, or if I had more money, I would have less stress. But I think if we really sit with that, we'll realize that's not true. How do we get more time, or how do we get more money? How do we manage better what we already have would be a better question for us to consider. Stress can come from many places, and most of the time, stress is relative to relationships with other people. Perhaps what we perceive what someone might think of us, or an ongoing relationship with somebody that might be closer in our lives. Before we dive into the specific of what Paul's really addressing in Philippians chapter 4 with be anxious for nothing, I want us to think about that word nothing. I was told years ago that a better way to read that is be anxious for no thing. Not a single thing in our life should cause us to be anxious. And we're going to look at in this series how we can apply that to our marriages, how we can apply that to raising our kids, our finances, our jobs, prayer, and a few other topics that I hope will be a blessing to you. But before we do that, I want us to think of a few questions regarding this acronym TRIALS that we looked at in our last lesson. When you think about transparency, can you answer the question or fill in this blank? Am I willing to be transparent with? And then think about a relationship that's important to you. Will this person be transparent with me? When it comes to responsibility, am I willing to be responsible with this person? Are they willing to be responsible with me? What can I do to make sure I am intentional with this person? Can and will I appreciate this person? Will he or she appreciate me if I, and then you fill in the blank? What will my limits be if I, and then make a choice with this person? Am I okay with these limits? And then when it comes to simplifying, how will this person help me simplify things in my life so that I don't add stress? Reflect on these questions personally for the upcoming week and talk to God about where you can make some changes that will be helpful to you in your relationships. What areas of life are currently bringing you the most stress? How long have you been carrying this stress? And what is one way that you can reduce this stress in your life this week? Remember, you can do this. God is for you, and we are all for you. So until next time, may the Lord bless you and keep you, and I hope that we'll see you during the next lesson.